I was like, I mean, it's hard. So it's learning to separate yourself from the work and understanding when people are giving feedback, they're giving feedback on the work. They're not talking about you as an artist. They are talking about the work and they want the work to improve. It's this third thing that you made that's outside of you. And I think there's some responsibility on the person providing the feedback as well. I've studied this and worked really hard at this, that when you're talking, when I give feedback, I like to talk about the we and like the collective, say like what we should do to make this look better is we should make this a little brighter. We should add some depth of field. It's because if you say, okay, what you're doing here isn't working, what you need to do is what it's a you, it all of a sudden becomes very like the you statements can sometimes feel aggressive when you don't want that. Because I do think of it as a collective process when I'm working with somebody, be like, this is what I think we should do to make things better. So there's a little bit of an onus on the person giving the feedback too. I also think I'm going to give something else. Sorry. I think that when you're giving feedback too, that providing context is great. So I think that if you're saying that it would be better if this character was, if there was more contrast in this region. If you just left it at that, people would be like, all right, cool. But if you're like, I think there should be more contrast in this region because this area of the image is actually closer in the foreground to the viewer. And so we want to make that black point a little bit darker. And that will allow the black points behind it to be lifted a little bit. And then we're starting to build depth in the image, right? So by having this contrast here, we're able to make it feel like the background is further away and the foreground is closer. Then it starts to click. So giving people, it takes an extra second or so, but giving people the whys of the note and not just that, I think it should be brighter, I think it should be darker is a really is a good way to get people to understand.
So I'll ask you a similar question because we talked about 3 tips, but I'm curious to see if the same thing falls under this rephrase of this question is what are the couple of things that you feel you always have to tell most students, like the typical feedback? Like for me, an example would be it's very flat. It's like a typical of course it's a very unhelpful comment that a lot of people do. I've noticed online, they just tell people it's flat. They don't explain what it means. I went through the same annoyance, people telling me it's flat. I'm like, what does that mean? Someone tell me, what does it mean? So are there some things that you notice that is a common thing with all the students or most of the students?